Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to dive into the dynamic world of Bharat Talks, the podcast that brings you the brightest minds and the boldest ideas. I'm your host, and today we have a special guest who's at the forefront of shaping India's business landscape. Joining us is none other than Mr. Anant Singhania, President of the Indian Merchants Chamber. But that's not all. Prepare to be blown away as we unveil an event of epic proportions. I'm talking about the inaugural edition of the National Legislators Conference Bharat, right here in the vibrant city of Mumbai. Picture this, a magnificent gathering of business moguls, subject experts, MLAs, MLCs, and more, all converging for 3 action-packed days. And here's the kicker, it's not just any conference, it's the historic National Legislators Conference Bharat, where over 2,500 legislators from across the nation will unite under one banner. These decision makers are putting aside politics to champion the noble cause of nation building. So get ready for a podcast episode like no other as we delve into the incredible stories and visionary insights that will shape the future of our beloved Bharat. Hello, Mr. Singhania, and welcome to the Bharat Talks podcast. Let's jump right into it. As we witness India's remarkable growth trajectory, we can't help but wonder about the secret ingredients that make our business environment so captivating. So, can you shed some light on the unique factors that contribute to our country's unrivaled success as the fastest growing economy in the world?
Thanks for having me here, Gaurav. This is Anant Singhania, CEO of JK Enterprise and also President of the IMC Chamber. India is at a place where India is viewed as the number one growing economy in the world. We are growing at about 6.5%. And from $3.5 trillion, the trajectory is just vertical. It's a vertical takeoff. If you look at the trajectory projected, we will be 10 times at the time when India turns 100. That's the projections. That's from 3.5 trillion to at least 35 trillion by 2047. That will be coupled on the basis of certain growth factors. 6% to 8% would be the compounded average growth rate. Now, why is this so and what's happening? So India is at a cusp where, the per capita is just about 200,000 rupees. But if you look at 10 years ago, it was 71,000. So it's gone 3x in 10 years. From this, it's going to go up significantly as India's grows 10x over the next 25 years. Everybody's per capita is going to go up. Income distribution is going to go up. The spending patterns will go up. Now, what's the government doing? The government has put in a big kicker in terms of capex spending. We have historically high 10 lakh crores towards capex. We have 2 lakh crores towards railways. We have another 1 lakh crores towards support to the various states towards capex. All of this is going to be having a multiplier effect, whereby this investment will multiply 3 times, 4 times, and it will have a cascading effect. Because when government spends on infra, they build roads, the contractor gets money, the cement companies get money, the steel companies get money, everybody in the value chain gets money. When they build bridges or they make ports or they build any infra asset, it all leads to a value chain enhancement. What are these roads for? What are these ports for? More roads mean more cars, more vehicles, more heavy vehicles, quicker movement. Quicker movements means lower cost. If you look at Gati Shakti plan of the government of India, which PM Gati Shakti, that aims to bring the logistics cost, which is on some numbers 12 to 14%, down to single digit, 5-7%. Now, how will that happen? In 2 areas. One is that cost will actually reduce. And 2, there will be a higher value addition. So today, if we are exporting or we are selling intermediates, we will sell finished goods to the world. If you look at 5 years ago, or maybe 8 years ago, there were virtually no mobile phone factories. Now, on some numbers, there are over 200. Where we were $45 billion import of mobiles, now we are one of the we've got some tremendous growth numbers in terms of exports of mobiles. We have the 2 of the largest players in the world manufacturing from India, namely Samsung and Apple. And look at this across various verticals. You are number one in pharma. We are number one in IT and IT services. We are very large in auto. We're very large in agriculture produce. We are very self-reliant on many areas. So all these factors put together build India in that position of strength where the world is looking at the largest economy, the largest democracy at 1.4 billion, not economy, I mean democracy. Mind you, the per capita is 200,000, but that's with a very large number having a very small base. It's like typically 80-20 number. This may be 90-10, where a very small percentage of people hold the strings and the rest is a long tail. So there's a huge potential for growth.
Thank you for those insights, Mr. Singhania. This sort of brings me to my second question. In the global arena, the ease of doing business has become a crucial metric for measuring a nation's attractiveness to investors and entrepreneurs. As the head of IMC, what is your evaluation of India's position in this competitive landscape?
So the last published Ease of Doing Business report is of 2021, which puts India at a rank at 63. This is far better than the previous two ranks where we were over 100. So we've come a long way, but obviously there is more road to travel. And I think the government has already put in place since 2021, even very recently, they've put in a lot of checks and lots of balances in place to reduce the compliance. So for example, there were several laws which have been repealed or merged with existing laws. So the number of laws landscape has been removed. Is it enough? Probably not enough. A lot more needs to be done. Sometimes new regulation brings with it new compliance and that adds to the burden. Take for example, this morning, we've all woken up to read that there will be some taxes called TCS on credit card payments. Can you imagine a person who does, online payments every month or every other month, either traveling with a foreign thing or at least annual, and he's voting 3-4 different transactions. He has to do compliance, small things. So maybe the government has a certain thing in mind, but when it comes down to the bottom line, it adds to the cost of compliance. It reduces the ease of doing business. Of course, this is for personal use, not business. But at the end of the day, the entire experience is a combination of two parts. One is ease of doing business and ease of living. That makes, a person happy. How is it easy for you to do things? How is it easy for you to function? So I think a lot is done, but there is a lot of road yet to be traveled.
Anant, sir, we just spoke about legislation, laws, and ease of doing business. This brings us to a very interesting point and one that sort of combines the reason as to why we are seeing business leaders come on a platform like NLC Bharat. It really makes us question as to what kind of laws can be formed to increase the ease of doing business. But more importantly, how important is it for effective legislation to take place at the ground level? Instead of wasting time going back and forth between different houses and a bill being tabled, etc. In a very personal capacity of yours, could you just explain to us how the legislative process can go ahead and help the ease of doing business?
So I think it's a combination of feedback. So legislator already knows where the problems are. They're fully aware of it. They're very intelligent people. The bureaucrats they know exactly. They need a bit of hand-holding. They need the industry who's on the other side of the fence, basically who are implementing those laws. The laws are implemented. For example, we had done a study on ease of doing business. There are n number of laws. I think there were 15,000 laws which are applicable to doing business. And if there are 15,000 laws, but say 1,000 of laws are applicable to doing business in Maharashtra. Now, out of that, there are 300 laws. I'm giving estimates. I don't have the exact numbers, but there are 300 laws which put you behind jail, behind bars. Now, one of them is if you don't put a spittoon, which is a place where you can spit in a factory, then you go to jail. Now, this may have been put in at a reason, God knows why it was put 100 years ago, but it's completely irrelevant. So such things, when industry puts it, and even legislators know. Now, normally nobody will go about harassing a businessman for that. But if a law is there and you're not compliant, then it becomes an issue. If you don't whitewash your wall at a certain frequency in a non-hygiene manner, it's not a pharmaceutical company, it could lead to, some kind of non-compliance. So there are certain things which need to go. And a lot of it is gone and a lot needs to be done, like I mentioned earlier. Your question on how do I see it going forward? I think digitization and simplification and the ease of doing business is all happening. So, for example, if you had to get a driving license renewal, you had to go to a agent, fill up a form. But now you can go to the RTE app and do it sitting at home at the convenience of wherever you're at home or office, and you can do it. So I think digitalization of services, digitalization of business activities, filing, now you already have e-filing, you have you look at UPI, the number of transactions which have gone up has reduced the number of cash transactions. Today, if you and I are sitting across the table and we have shared a meal and I need to pay you, normally I'd pay you cash, you would find change, or there would be some kind of, if we are friends, and now it just UPI in 30 seconds, you got the money. So this is making life easier. So as we go up the value chain in terms of services, we have 90,000 startups. All of them, what are they doing? A lot of them are in fintech, a lot of them are in tech, a lot of them are in ease of doing business. I mean, I know if you ask me how long does it take to open a bank account, it would take 7 days or 10 days. I was working with a fintech company. They asked me to scan their documents. 30 minutes later, I got a bank account detail. I got my bank account, not of an individual, of a company. I mean, that's the ease at which tech is taking over. So as more and more tech becomes a part of our life, I definitely see that it augment the fact of doing ease of doing business.
So you're saying that it's an evolving process of keeping concurrent with the current times, a way where we can sort of shed the old that is not needed and stay concurrent with new laws, new legislation that fits this new era.
I completely agree.
This actually brings me to my next question, Anant sir, which is, when it comes to collaboration between industrialists and politicians, it's often uncharted territory. Yet IMC has taken a very bold step by being part of the upcoming NLC Bharat conference. We'd love to hear the story behind this innovative decision and how did this remarkable idea really come into fruition? And if you could also tell us a bit about the goals it sort of aims to achieve.
So I think the National Legislators Conference is a path-breaking initiative of MIT School, and we are very happy at IMC to be a part of this national movement. I think the fact that we are going to have close to 3,000 to 4,000 legislators from all across India, all across the states, union territories, come on one common platform over 3 days in the month of June at Geo in Mumbai. It is fabulous. It's path-breaking, it's very innovative, it's visionary, and I think we are very happy, from IMC and myself included, very happy to be a part of this. I have been part of the envisioning exercise, and I see the in-depth background, in-depth planning that has gone into putting this in place. Coming to the chamber, and MIT and the chamber have been working for several years. We've done a couple of programs in the past. Where I got associated with MIT is that they invited me to be a chief guest for one of the events in Pune, and I visited their campus and I found it mind-boggling. I mean, they had about 6,000 to 7,000 students, a beautiful platform, a very vibrant platform where there was a lot of ideating, a lot of exchange of ideas, and there was a lot of attention to detail. And it was very impactful as well. So it was just not talk, but there was impact from what was discussed. Certain things went into projects, certain papers were made, certain things were, evolving. So having seen that firsthand, when we had a dialogue between Rahul Kararji and myself and the rest of the people at the chamber, we felt that it would be a very worthy scenario where we could have a common platform to bring in the corporates, the business leaders, who are in turn in touch with the legislators, who are in touch with the politician, but at a platform, at a neutral platform. See, when I have my business interest, I go to the government, I say, look, this is my problem area, can you help me? Or I need some clarification here, or can you make the law, tweak it so that it becomes easier for me doing business? And sometimes I represent myself, sometimes I represent a collective people of that industry. But as a platform, which is NLC, there is no me, there's us. It's the business community versus the parliamentarians versus the legislators who will meet, ideate, discuss on issues. And one such event that we have planned is we planned a CEO's interaction, a business interaction with the IMC people, the the senior most people in industry dialoguing with the legislators over 2 hours in June.
Sure. So, Anand sir, this also, this is a very informal question actually that I'm going to ask. It's about the importance of dialogue, because when we do this sort of backroom or backdoor conversation, which happens between, business professionals and legislators and or parliamentarians or anyone in the government, it's always a backroom conversation. The importance of having a non-partisan platform seems pivotal in this point in time so that we can reduce the clutter. But how will this free flow of information between these different communities, of politicians and businessmen and legislators, how will this dialogue go on to form effective legislation? Is that the hope, that it goes on to form concrete effective legislation at the grassroots level?
So I must just share with you that the IMC has been working for some time on a similar concept, but in a very small manner and only for Maharashtra. So this year, on 13th of March, we launched something called Maharashtra Forum, which is similar. It's non-partisan. We've got representatives from all the 4 or 5 political parties in Maharashtra on a common platform with a select group of CEOs. And we have identified young leaders of tomorrow across party lines to just ideate on what are the challenges that Maharashtra faces. This is done at a state level. NLC is at a national level. In fact, it's at a global level if I look at it, because it impacts how the global looks at India. So it's at a much bigger scale. But where IMC has done it is that we've set up this Maharashtra Forum. We have people from BJP, we have people from Sena, we have people from Congress, we have people from NCP. And everybody is ideating on one platform to see what needs to be done to take Maharashtra from 500 million or close to half a trillion to $1 trillion economy. And that's only going to be possible when we all work in a common platform. Now, coming to NLC, I think NLC, the format, the people behind NLC is fabulous. We have Sumitra Mahajan ji, we have Meera ji, Dr. Meera Kumar, we have Manoj Joshi, and we have Shivraj Patil, who are the main governing council. Plus, we have several other chairmen, deputy speakers of the various states who are actively looking after the interests and alignment of the legislators with the businessmen.
Correct. So, Anand sir, does, now since we've answered the question about the importance of dialogue and, this bit of information about IMC having done a similar exercise at a state level in March, could you tell me a bit about your views of a non-partisan platform? How important is a non-partisan platform to our democracy?
See, I think that little experience I had with the March one is that when you put people, even non-partisans in one room, the politics are left. They're good friends. They understand the pluses and minuses. They are very happy to work with each other. It's only when you go to the vote bank, that's when then you pull out you draw the lines. So everybody's on a common platform. Everybody wants good for India, good for Bharat. And I think this, India at 2047 is more about Bharat at 2047. And therefore, if we have to, because there's so much of a rural thing. Today also 600 million plus people are in the villages or in agriculture. How do we skill them? How do we, give them goods and services? I mean, the digital is reaching there. I mean, Amazon's and the e-commerce and the digital payment system is empowering the rural economy. And that's the growth. And I think a platform like this will actually really open up the mind. A lot of people, I believe, who are coming to Mumbai have never been to Mumbai. They don't know what the financial capital of India looks like. So it'll open their minds when they see the infra in Mumbai, when they see the roads, the facilities, the scale of which Mumbai operates. It will give them an idea to go back to their legislation, their states, and see how they can make an impact. Not only just Mumbai and what Mumbai offers, but what other people are talking. So when, there's a peer pressure. If I know that Maharashtra is doing this and I'm in another state, I would like to be equal or better. So there is that healthy competition which a non-partisan platform like NLC will bring on it.
This, I want to be better, this, I just want to sort of encapsulate and elaborate on that, because what NLC Bharat also does is that okay, we know that it cuts across party lines and it's a non-partisan platform. But another very underscored highlight of the event will be that it brings legislators from across states together as well, so that they can learn from each other's best practices and there can be a uniform sort of exchange of ideas and learning across borders. So I think that also will, go ahead and play a very important role in the upcoming conference. But my next question, sir, to you would be that as NLC approaches now, in probably a couple of weeks now, we can't help but wonder about the fascinating discussions that will unfold at this event. Could you provide us with some insights into the captivating conversation topics that the IMC has prepared for this conference?
So we will be talking about a couple of areas that we have identified. One is ease of doing business, because that's very important. The second is how do we facilitate investment? Because for growth, I talked about capital investment by the government, but we need private investment. We need companies to, why will companies invest, right? They'll invest as a potential. They'll invest once their capacity is utilized. If their capacity is underutilized, there's no reason to expand. Where will you expand and what will you do? So people need their capacity to be utilized. So how do we facilitate? How do we, invoke the growth? Like how do we ensure that the growth happens? How do we get the demand going? See, one important factor is that this NLC is at a time when we're just coming out. We've come out of pandemic. But we've landed up into two problems. There's an energy crisis in Europe. There's, low demand in Europe and America. There's like a world recession, if you look at it. That's why India is shining, because India is the only one which is growing as opposed to other places. So there is a demand, there is a pressure on exports. We're not able to export. We have moved from about $770 billion target to $2 trillion target. In order for that to happen, certain steps have to be taken. So a platform like this would be a place that how do we, facilitate growth? The third topic is that what do we need to do for skilling? What are the areas that we need to skill? Is today hospitality, for example, got majorly hit during pandemic. Lots and lots of people move out of hospitality. Today, if you go to any hospitality chain, they are looking and yearning for talent. Can we do skilling for them? We have a lot of areas which are identified. So this is a third area. The fourth area is that to implement digital services, IT and ITES services, what do we need to do at the state level, at the Parishchandra, at the various zonal levels, going all the way down to the common man? What do we need to do to ensure that? How can business and legislator work together to get to the last mile?
So it seems like IMC has a broad range of topics that you want to discuss on this common platform, because it will be easier to ideate and exchange information if everyone's on the same page at the same table. So at the outset, Anant sir, do you believe that these dialogues would be fruitful, since everyone is on the same platform and everyone is under a common banner working towards nation building?
I have no doubt that this will be a path-breaking initiative will lead to a lot of good. Since it's been done the first time, one cannot really point a finger and say this would be the output. The point is that the canvas is large. There are a lot of shoots which, come out. There's no rocket science. When you put in, such brains in one room and you let them ideate, a good is going to come out of it. A lot of areas can come out. I've just mentioned a few, but if I look at the platform and look at the structure that they have put in place, how, there could be things on healthcare, there could be something on investment, like I said, there can be something on tourism, on medical tourism, what we need to do. There can be something on, how to boost the agricultural growth, how do we enhance the value chain. Today we are surplus in certain crops, but we are importing, for example, oil seeds we are importing. How do we ensure it? There's a lot of agriculture belt across India. How do we do it? How do we improve irrigation or agricultural output? Can we really compare each state by state on terms of productivity? So there are so many areas where people can work. I mean, when you look at smart city, sister city concepts, two cities, an Indian city and a foreign city, they actually compare on various parameters: portability of water, air index, time to market, how long it takes, what are your railway downtime. So there are so many parameters under which you can benchmark yourselves. So this platform will allow people to actually exchange ideas very freely without any, there's no monitor, there's nobody who's going to tell you this is right and wrong. And I think a lot of friends will be made, a lot of networks will be created. And I'm assuming that the states which are interconnected, the border states, if they connect, there will definitely be some issues which come up. So if you know the person on the other side and there is maybe a water issue or there's a sourcing issue, a lot of good work happened during COVID. A lot of states with the border states work very closely to use each other's resources, how goods moved, how people were managed. So there's been a lot of work that has already happened. And I think this will give it the fillip to make it move forward.
So the impetus that NLC Bharat will provide in terms of bringing neighbors closer to each other is very important.
I completely agree. I think that would be one of the outcomes for sure. No doubt. I have no doubt in that.
Anant sir, I just want to close with one final question. At the outset of the conference, what do you hope or what do you expect to take home from the conference?
So I want to just mention one thing which I forgot to mention. So my connect with government is also goes down that my grandfather's elder brother was a signatory to the Constitution of India. So Anant Singhania. So there is a bit of constitutional blood in us. We feel very committed to the nation building movement. And to answer your question on what will be the outcome, I think there will be several outcomes. One is the network, one is the connect, one is the understanding. See, today from business, I look at it in a certain way. But when the other person on implementation talks in a non-partisan manner across states, they will share certain things, then I get understanding. I can visualize what's happening on that side and he can visualize my side because there's no agenda here. The agenda is India's growth. The agenda is a common agenda. There's no personal agenda that I need to, make sure that my business does well and you need me for something. It's a common agenda. So I think there's a lot of good going to come out of it.
At this point in time, what do you hope to take away from the conference? Like what kind of learnings would you want to, in your capacity as president of IMC, would you hope to take away from the 3-day conference?
So I think the takeaways, if I had to put it, of course, the network, the connectivity, the knowledge sharing, the understanding. I'm certain that suggestions that would be shared from both sides would be understood and ideated about, and maybe they can go back to themselves and see how best they can implement and do those things. On suppose there is a pollution issue which comes up. So maybe I feel there's too much of legislation, but the legislator may say that this is required because you may be by the book, but there are many people who are not by the book. So the legislation required to ensure a level playing field. So that understanding would be a very good takeaway. So I wish the NLC, I wish MIT School, I wish Atulya Bharat Foundation, and I wish Mr. Karad himself specifically my very best from my personal self and as president of the IMC for a very exciting, very invigorating, and a very path-breaking NLC, the National Legislators Conference in Mumbai next month.
Thank you for your insights, Anant sir, and thank you for taking the time out to join this Bharat Talks podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you.